welcome to Leading the Break. The program you're about to see has two very special guests, Robin and Raven Owen, two devoted and loving parents to three Division I student athletes. Their oldest son, Anthony, played basketball at St. Bonaventure. Their other son, Raven, played basketball at Canisius. And their daughter, Skye, currently plays basketball at St. John's University. Currently, Anthony is an architect, Raven is an attorney, and Skye is still in school, but she's garnered all Big East academic honors. You'll hear their story about their journey as parents of these student athletes. Part one of this program will focus on who their children are, during which you'll learn about the parents' journey. And in part two, you'll learn about the parents' sacrifices, challenges, and perspectives looking back on it all.
Anthony's the eldest, so he was the first. So although they're only like 18 months apart, so he, I guess he started. They've been playing ball since they were like, I guess 3 years old, 4 years old. In the gym, they started over at St. Paul's school in Staten Island, and they would play with the CYO over there.
Okay.
And Anthony was always very artistic. So he always liked drawing. He was into that. So on a personal level, and he was always good with mathematically. So that kind of fast forwarded into what he does now. He's an architect for the city. And he also has his own business where he does hats, designs different hats and belts and things like that. He has a website that does it because he's always been artistic from, early. That in addition to, playing basketball, he and my middle son, who was a little, obviously 2 years younger, he would go take Anthony to the gym.
Mm-hmm. So Anthony was obviously the predecessor before Skye and Raven. So he was, came first and always just had him in the gym. Like my wife said, from when he was 3, and Raven would be there as well, kind of hanging out. And I don't even, Skye wouldn't even thought of it at the time, but, Anthony would be there and I would take him, we used to live in the area and they had a gym right where we lived in an actually open yard. They had a hoop and we would go right outside the house and shoot around. And he was 3 and he was able to reach the rim at the age of 3 years old. And Raven was out there doing his ball drills, hard dribbles and between his legs. And he was 1 year old at the time, could barely walk, So he'd stay out with us for a little bit. But Anthony, I coached Anthony and I coached him all the way up. And he played in a lot of the city tournaments. Well, like my wife said, he played in CYO, played in also a lot of the city tournaments, the Ron on Test, as my youngest son did. But Anthony was also, he also played in the community college, in which he was actually the assist leader in the conference, and eventually, which led to him being a walk-on at St. Bonaventure University.
Okay, so was it Dad who really motivated the kids? Let's start with Anthony to be a basketball player.
So being that I played and grew up loving the game, grew up in the Bronx, and I played myself a long time. Attended St. Nicholas Talentine High School. We won a championship, and then went to St. Raymond's. But because I did have a love for the game, I kind of started them along the path. Now, I started them along the path, but it was up to them to kind of, pull the wagon. If I had to pull the wagon or my wife had to pull the wagon, that was a problem.
Okay.
I could start you and give you certain tools and we could do certain drills, but you have to be the one that want to do it, that wants to get out there consistently and do it daily.
Anthony, he kind of liked football a little bit when he was younger, but I didn't want him to do it. I'm just too scared,
I often had Raven and Anthony in the gym growing up. And Skye wasn't even born at the time yet. And I was also the volunteer athletic director at Trinity Lutheran Church.
Okay.
So also, I, could get access to the gym, and I ran the program. They volunteer. It was volunteer. It was my job, but it's always good to help out. It's still my church, Trinity Lutheran. But I'd have the boys in there and just doing drills all the time.
Boys, they're busy, so we're real proponents of staying busy. Idle mind is a devil's
They say,
workshop.
I
So
don't mind as a devil's workshop.
we constantly kept them engaged and doing things, working together. So they were always involved in different activities.
Just swimming.
So, yeah.
Raven. Raven played the piano.
Nice.
And Anthony also, like my wife mentioned, because of he had a propensity for drawing. Even after we'd come home from like the Ron Artest tournament, Andy, Ron Artest, Stephon Marbury, Bassi, I would put them on all these tournaments. He'd come home and immediately take out his what do you call that, the construction paper, and start diagramming like Batman and all that kind of stuff. And he actually took a class at the Jewish, what is it, the cultural center.
Yeah.
Drawing classes. So we kept the kids not only playing sports, but also doing other things.
Busy.
They also did the Kumon mathematics as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we kept the kids busy.
Yeah, and the science, the science
and the STEM programs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know. I think I would have been afraid to have you guys as parents, No, but that's wonderful. That's wonderful. I'm joking. When Anthony got to high school, did you know that he was going to make the team, and did he make the team?
Yeah, he actually did. He actually played for his charter school in Harlem.
Okay.
And he was on the team, and that's how he actually got, that's how I actually started playing the community college.
But it sounds like academics was important. Obviously, he's gotten a career as an architect. So did you guys it sounds like you guys kept him grounded in terms of keeping his options open, not to kind of fall into it's either this or nothing, in terms of basketball.
So for us, Eddie, it was always basketball is a means to an end. It's a vehicle, right? So first and foremost is the academics. And we always stress that. And one of the things that we never had to worry about with our kids was the academics. They always all did well. When Raven was at Xaverian, he was in honors classes, and he was doing, 3 point, whatever the GPA was, 96 grade point average. He always did well. Skye at St. Francis Prep, Anthony as well. One of the things we never had to worry about, and I think that's because we set a strong foundation, is academics was always first and foremost. We don't have to worry about academics.
Nice.
You're going to do well academically, or you're not going to play basketball.
And Raven's mom, she was before she passed away, she was a teacher to the teachers. What do they call?
Yeah, so she taught at the Teacher Center, and she was also working on her dissertation, her doctorate in linguistics at Columbia. So, the academics has always been stressed in our house, just first and foremost. Yeah. And if you look at what our kids are doing now, obviously we set a good foundation for them.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
That's me, but it's always in the back of it was always in the back of their mind.
Sure.
Yeah. That if you could, they're like, obviously a yes.
Yeah.
If it was a possibility to be able to play overseas, or if you could, yeah.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. They all wanted to go overseas, and they definitely had those aspirations. But knowing that, you have this degree, to fall back on if things don't really work out for you. Mm-hmm. And you have a degree of substance.
So now let's talk about your second son, Raven. So it sounds like he was tagging along with older brother even
all the time.
And so obviously he loved the game as well. What was his in terms of playing in high school, AAU, and college? What was his path like basketball?
So he was just first off his work ethic. Work ethic, I mean, is just incredible. And so he actually started playing, obviously tagging along with his brother, always in the gym, working out. And I spent a lot of time focused on Anthony. And Raven would be in the gym on the other end working out by himself a lot of times, working on his own game. And Rob would be in the gym. She was in there rebounding and stuff.
When he was little.
When he was little,
And I feel like I'm leaving.
Yeah. So So
To watch
he
cartoons.
he would be over on the other end working out, while I was working Anthony out actually. So then Raven played at Trinity Lutheran, and again I was a volunteer athletic director there for the program, and and he also attended the school Trinity Lutheran. And I think by sixth grade was when he actually had people starting to recruit him. A lot of the high schools, because he was actually one of the top. By the time he was one of the top middle school kids coming out of high school, coming out of middle school, and one of the top juniors. Andy, I can send it to you. They have a list. He was on the list with Isaiah Whitehead and
Oh wow.
a lot of the other kids. One of the top juniors in New York City, and so he was just getting highly recruited. And then he went to Xaverian.
Okay.
Right, Rob?
Yeah, he went to Bavarian, a very good academic school out there, and he played with the Gauchos too.
So,
Sometimes, yeah.
so for thank you, Rob, for reminding me. So for AAU, um, so he played for me up until eighth grade, because I had him in all these tournaments. Had him playing with some kids overseas right now. Hassan Martin was one of my kids. Also Ezra Babu that went to NJIT. I had a lot of kids that played for me, and they all came up together. But Raven was AAU. He played with Shandu McNeil from the Long Island Lightning, the prestigious Long Island Lightning program. So he played with Shan. He also played with the Gauchos. He had a great coach by the name of Julius Allen. And Julius is a college coach. And if you mention a name, like everyone throughout New York City knows him, well recognized. And Raven had the opportunity to play with Coach Jules his last 2 years of high school during the AAU season. Had a wonderful career, transferred to, so he played at Xavier, was doing well there. They played freshman like most freshmen do in high school, and then when they played double A, played varsity as a sophomore. Ended up transferring his junior year to St. Joseph's High School, where he was on the illustrious team. We had 5 Division I kids on the team. We had 2 NBA players, and big man Carl Anthony Towns, who's now playing for the Knicks. They had a kid by the name of Wade Baldwin that got drafted 17th, I believe, by the Portland Trailblazers. He was at Canisius
Okay.
for 2 years, where he played for Coach Jim Barron. And then Jim Barron ended up leaving the program. And so they brought a whole new staff in, and the coach wanted to bring his players in and that sort of thing. And then after that, he went and played for another school. He ended up at St. John's Law School. He's got his MBA as well.
Oh wow.
Graduated from St. John's Law School, and he passed the bar. Graduated in May, passed the bar in October. So
Beautiful.
God is good. He passed on the first time.
Beautiful.
And he's working for a really prestigious law firm in Long Island by the name of Seelig, Dressler, and Ochani, aka Storm Marketing. So they all consist of St. John's Law School alum. And so he did an externship there as a 1L, then a 2L internship, and then they invited him to stay on, and that's where he's currently working.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So he's got his law degree, and he's a lawyer, and has his MBA too. Again, it was just with him, there was no concerns regarding academics. We stressed it in household. First, my wife is an electrical engineering major at Binghamton, so mathematics is her thing. And so fortunate enough, she was able to, with Skye and Raven and Anthony, like mathematics was drilled in them.
Now, let's talk about Skye. And what was her journey like athletically?
So Skye was she was in the gym with her brothers. So, she was this little thing, and she'd be in there doing the drills, the ball handling drills, and first, the ball handling drills, and just working out with her older brothers all the time in the gym, playing against them one-on-one. And the great thing about it is they didn't take it easy on her, Andy. She's in there and they're blocking her shots, and they're defending her, and they were going hard. And for AAU, so I coached her at CYO, and I coached a little bit on the AAU from time to time. But in sixth grade, she got a great opportunity to go play for one of the premier AAU coaches in New York, who's had Aaliyah Boston right now for the Indiana Fever, and a number of WNBA players. So opportunity came available, and my wife and I We discussed it, right, Rob?
Mm-hmm.
And we thought, you know what? A gentleman by the name of Walter Welsh. And so we entrusted him with her. And she played for Walter for about 5 years
Mm-hmm.
and had an outstanding. I'm sorry, Rob.
No, I'm just saying before that, she was at the Gauchos as well.
Oh, you know what?
Before,
That's right. How
yeah,
can I forget? Shanae would kill me.
yeah, Shanae, yeah.
So before
She was so motherly. She was almost like a second mother to her, even though, and she would take the girls everywhere with them. And she just spoke to them so, on their level, so compassionately. She showed them through example. She didn't like scream at them. She didn't inhibit them from trying to be explore different things and trying. You know how some coaches can be like, "Don't do that. That's not your thing."
What was
To
her
go
name?
out there, try it.
What
so
was her?
so her name Shanae Jones.
Okay, she was the coach.
And like my
Yeah.
wife said, one of the things that Shanae was very good at was that she didn't hold their creativity. So she allowed them to be creative and explore their games. Like if you come down, you throw behind the back pass.
Yeah.
If it went out of bounds, she didn't say anything to you.
I
She
hear you.
allows you to play through it and
I
to
get you.
develop your game and to be creative. The other thing is, she was a great mentor to them. She graduated from NYU, got her master's from NYU, and the girls, they really held her in high regard. They looked up to her. She's part of the family till this day.
Nice.
And she was the coach at New York Gauchos from the fourth grade up until about the sixth when she went over to Walter Welsh.
Skye went to St. Francis Prep, right?
Well, she went to play for Walter Welsh from sixth grade to eighth grade on the AAU circuit. And
Which
and
is like my son didn't play AAU at that. Neither one of the boys played AAU so young at 6'8". So she
Okay.
was the first one that we allowed to do that because it's so much traveling. It's really hard on the body too.
when it came time for high school in eighth grade, she was actually headed to another high school. I'm not going to say which one, but double A, CHSAA, she was headed to another high school. And because of Michaela Scarlett, Cassidy Roberts, Gianna, they all played in the same AU program, Andy. Um, Destiny Howell, right now, who is the MEAC play at Howard University, destroying the MEAC. She was also on that team. They convinced Skye to come over with them to St. Francis Prep. And so it was just, we had to think about it because it was a drive. How was she going to get there? We're in Staten Island. The school is in Queens. How's she going to get there? So,
Yeah, we had kind of thought about it. We had talked about something like this with Raven, and that's how he ended up going to Brooklyn instead of Staten Island. So he went to Severian,
Right.
and then he went to Jersey outside, but that's relatively close. So I guess having dipped our toe in spreading that far, we saw it was a possibility to be able to go outside of Staten Island and still commute back and forth. But it still was a thought because unlike like Christ the King, there's a train that goes straight there. St. Francis Prep, that's not, it wasn't an option.
yeah.
You would
But
have the chance of,
but the thing that we liked was Coach Kerry for St. Francis Prep.
and the academics. The academics.
Oh, first and foremost,
sound school.
thank you. Yep. But first and foremost, the academics, and when we went on a visit, the school was just it was tremendous. The faculty and staff were very welcoming, and academically, we thought that they were at the forefront of technology in terms of the biology, bio, the STEM, right?
Yeah.
The mathematics.
Yeah.
They were really at the forefront from a technology standpoint in the classrooms.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It was just fantastic. The things that we didn't see in some of the other schools that we visited.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And,
So
and-
we took a chance.
Yeah.
We took a chance. But the interesting thing, to tell you a funny story. So after we talked about it, we thought about it. She said, "Yeah, I want to go there. Yeah, I'm excited." The first day, so she comes from Staten Island. We're a small town, Staten Island. So she goes there the first day of school. We're like, so we're there, and she gets out. "How did you like it? How was it?" She's like, "I hated it." I hated it. I didn't know anybody. I was sent to lunch. I was completely, I hated it. And her father and I were like, Like, what do we do? What do we do?
Well, you got to preface it too because it's 3,000 kids in the school, and it's like the largest Catholic school in like the city in New
Really?
York City.
Okay.
Yeah.
3,000 kids, so it's humongous. And she came from St. Teresa's, where all the kids are welcoming, and they're still some of her best friends right now. And
Yeah.
it might have been a class of what of about her eighth grade class is
Maybe
maybe
40.
50 kids.
We're
So,
glad she decided to stay. She got acclimated, she made friends, it became a wonderful experience. But that first day, we said,
so before you had kids, did you envision, did you want your kids to play basketball? Did you envision them playing basketball? Or was it, hey, I'll expose them to all kinds of things and let them decide? Or was it kind of dad kind of leading the way? What was, what were the goals for you guys in terms of your future kids?
well, for me, I didn't know anything about basketball. And so the basketball was all him. And like with Skye, I was had an opportunity to be home with her for a while, which was nice. So she was in when I was with her for several years. She was on the swim team. She's an
She's
excellent
actually a
swimmer.
very good swimmer.
Yeah, she was on the swimming team for like a couple of years. She was in judo. She'd taken judo for like 2 or 3 years. She was on
She played the piano
she had the
too.
piano. We
She
had
did
her piano.
recitals at St.
Yeah, at
Teresa's.
St.
Wow.
Yeah. She played the
She did
a little
STEM.
bit of yeah.
She also was part of the STEM program at Wagner
Hmm.
College. So my wife,
Yeah.
every summer, she made sure
With
that
the
Skye
robotics. Hmm.
participated at least 2 or 3 weeks in the robotics program at Wagner
Yeah.
College.
And she
Wow.
was doing tennis for a while until she ended up getting stitches because one
But
of the girls when she was
but
younger.
but, but before you guys had kids, did you, or at least, Raven, did you envision that you were going to take your love for basketball and impart it to your kids? Or, I mean, did you see that as what was going
So I figured with the boys, kind of with the boys, I think it was, let's try, you know, they got a clinic when they were young. Let's go to the clinic, see if you like it, if you like this game, and and they took to it. Sure, did I kind of lead them to the water and to see if they would drink? I absolutely did, probably because of my own bias, and my own love for the game, and to see if they would also take to the game. Now, if they didn't take to the game, Andy was completely up to them. But they also took to the game and developed a love for the game, stayed in the gym and they were also students of the game. So they watched the game, they read biographies of players and just students of the game. But so I guess initially my whole thing was to kind of expose them to it and just to see if they took to it. And my hope was that sure that they would love the game and want to play as well. Skye, I wasn't that was at the top of my list with her. Like I said, my wife had her do other things, and then all of a sudden she's in the gym with her brothers. And actually, when I used to work her Raven out, she'd be in the gym and
He's
she'd be in
always
there
in the
bouncing the
gym because he
ball.
picked them up.
I
So
pick
she's
them up.
always in the gym
And
bouncing the
she bounced the
ball and
ball, and
jumping
then all of a sudden I
around.
see the ball stop bouncing, and she's lying over in a cushion, knocked
Yeah,
out. She's sleeping,
yeah.
and I'm working
She's
Raven
like
out,
three
and
or
she's
four
out
now.
cold, but she's
Yeah.
like 3 or 4 years old. There's actually a video.
Yeah.
There's a video on YouTube where she's like 3 years old, and her uncle tapes her. She's dribbling two balls like this, and she crosses them over, and one behind. But she just was in the gym, and she just
She loved in the gym.
yeah. And Skye and I actually we used to butt heads a little bit, and I'd say, Skye, you know what, like. You just have mom come pick you up because she'd be in the gym with her two brothers. you know, she'd be in the gym with her two brothers, and I go, Skye, and she go, okay, Dad, and she go, so she was hilarious. Like we had a good time, but we butt heads. I work her out, but it's a little different working the boys out. But I work out all the time, but we'd always butt heads, But
so,
that Skye, even till this day, she's still.
They lived
so,
in the gym.
But
They
we
lived in
but
the
we
gym.
lived in the gym though, and we're always in the gym.
Yeah. They would do
so,
the thing up and down the stairs, up around,
Yeah.
up in the.
Yeah, the workout was intense. Running the beach in 90-degree weather with the vest on and stairs,
Yeah.
and my garage right now is a fitness center. Squat machines, the Vertimax. So
uh,
Yeah.
you know,
so it sounds for you, Raven, this was love, man. This was total love.
Oh, it's complete love.
Okay, but
I grew up loving the game.